You've got to say what's wrong and what we need to change to get out there and actually change it. So I mean, people don't want to tell these things, their reasons are good, obviously, but we need to get past that and just realize that this is the only way to help our soldiers out. This is the only way to make a change.
Michael Anthony is no stranger to the military. The youngest of 7, Michael saw 5 of his 6 siblings follow in both his grandfather's and father's footsteps. He began his run with the military upon high school graduation in 2003. With basic training, job training for his position as an operating medic, and 1 year of college under his belt, Michael was deployed for 17 months, 12 of them being in Iraq.
And while you were overseas, you decided to write a journal about your daily experiences that ultimately became this book.
Yep.
Did you kind of have that in mind while you were writing the journal, or you just kind of wanted a daily account of, your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just kept the journal for cathartic reasons, just to be able to express myself. And, over there we had always joked about writing books and stuff like that, just because of all the crazy stuff that had happened.
After being home for 2 months, those jokes became a reality for Michael.
And it wasn't until about 2 months after being home that I decided to write the book. I was on a date with this girl, and she starts telling me about this article she had read in the newspaper. And she starts describing me the articles about the soldier in Iraq. And then she tells me about the article and how it pretty much described this guy as if he was the epitome of an American hero, as if, this new G.I. Joe film was based on this guy. Mm-hmm. And then she tells me the guy's name, and it turned out he was in my unit in Iraq, and he was one of my commanders, and he was just this deplorable character in Iraq. He actually tried to throw me and my friend in jail while we were in Iraq, and he tried to, and he covered up my friend's suicide so that he wouldn't look bad. He just did all these deplorable things in Iraq, and just to come home and hear that he was being praised as this hero, kind of made me sick to my stomach. And it was it was just that, powerful emotional thing to hear this guy that should, kicked out of the military, maybe even in jail, being praised as this American hero. It was just so, sad, and just gave me that drive to get out there and, just write the book and get the truth out there.
The book, entitled Mass Casualties, has received over 30 endorsements since its release.
It's not a pro-war book, it's not an anti-war book. We've got endorsements from Democrats, Republicans, big pro-war, big anti-war people. It's just a real look at, what happens over there.
Mass Casualties is an incredibly honest account of a young medic fighting for his country. Michael Anthony seeks to give readers not just a glimpse at life overseas, but the entire story from day one to the flight home. During those 12 months, you'll read about Michael's first mortar attack and the many that follow. You'll read about his days in the operating room, the emotions and sometimes apathy he felt, and the misconduct he witnessed.
It is a true story. It is a full picture of what goes on over there, and I think that's why so many different groups and people from different ideologies were able to come together and just say, listen, things do need to change. One of the problems with writing a book like this is if you get out there and you tell a story other than making things seem perfect, it's a catch-22 because people call you, they'll call you silly terms like unpatriotic or anti-American if you tell them the truth. But the sad part is the only way to make improvements and help these soldiers out is to tell, the full picture of what goes on.
Michael's memoir also demonstrates his strong hold onto his convictions. In this next story, Michael tells me how a third of his unit refused to take the anthrax shot, a shot that's been linked to Lou Gehrig's disease, the Gulf War syndrome, and other serious injuries.
Our NCOIC, our first line leader, he comes and tells us that if we don't take this shot that's refusing a direct order during a time of war, he can legally shoot us. So he starts telling us, he never said directly that he would shoot us, but he just gets out there and he looks at us. He's like, I can shoot you if you don't take this shot, and I'm within my legal bounds to shoot you if you don't take this shot. So we're like, you got to be kidding me. Now we know we're not getting this shot, this no matter what, we're being threatened with jail time, we're being threatened, to be shot, and here we are 6,000 miles away, fighting for our country and the freedoms of America.
You'll have to read the book to hear how this account ends. You can find Mass Casualties, a young medic's true story of death, deception, and dishonor in Iraq in local bookstores or online at Michael's website, masscasualties.com.
It's not about bashing anything or making the military look bad or anything like that, but the only way to help is to admit what's wrong. If everything's perfect, well, great, nothing needs to change. But, it's clear with rising suicide and PTSD rates that things need to change. And the only way to change things is to admit what's wrong. What I wanted to do was just fill in the gaps between, what really happens and what people are told.